Hey, pre-K, guess what? I'm somewhere else now. I'm still in my home, but this is a different room. I came to a different room to tell you a story, another part of the story of Jesus, and it happened right before he died on the cross. It was a very special night for him and his friends, the disciples. Do you remember the disciples? Yeah, they were all together and they were celebrating a holiday. Their holiday was called Passover. And Jesus and his disciples got together. Now, it was a holiday kind of like Thanksgiving or Christmas when family and friends get together and they do things like they have a special meal and they spend time together talking and they celebrate. Well, that's what Jesus and his friends, the disciples, were doing together. They were having a special meal, a Passover, and they were eating it together. And as they were eating it together, Jesus said something really surprising to them. He said something about their meal that they did not expect. Usually when they would have the Passover meal, they would have the same kinds of foods. Like for Thanksgiving, you probably always have turkey. You probably always have mashed potatoes. I'm assuming. Probably, right? Well, it was the same with Jesus's disciples. They would have some of the same food every time they had the Passover. One of the things that they would have would be a special wine drink, and they would have their drink, and they also would have some flat bread. Now, I just have kind of like normal bread, but they had like a flat bread, like pita or tortilla, very flat bread, and they would have that every time. And Jesus sat down with his disciples, and they probably actually sat on the floor, but I'm going to sit on my couch. And as they were sitting and having their meal, Jesus said to them, he looked at them and he said, "My friends, my disciples, I want you to know that this is the last time we'll have Passover together." They started to wonder, oh, why? And Jesus said, "This Passover is going to be different. This is going to be special. This is going to be not like our usual Passover meal. This is special." Now the disciples probably thought, Jesus, it sure looks the same to me. It looks like the same bread. It looks like the same drink. It looks the same. How is this different, Jesus? How is this any different than like last year? Last year we did the same thing. They might have been thinking that. And Jesus wanted to explain. He said, "Let me tell you why this is so special." He said, "Tonight, when you have the meal," it was a nighttime meal, "tonight, when you have the bread, I don't want you to think of it as just bread. I want you to think of it kind of like my body that was broken for you, my body that's going to be broken for all of you." And he passed out the bread. He said, "My body will be broken for you." Now, they didn't understand that Jesus meant he was going to die on the cross. But that's what Jesus was saying. He was saying his body is going to die. And it was going to be the very next day. They didn't understand, but Jesus was trying to explain to them what was going to happen. And he said, when you have this drink, I don't want you to think of it as the same drink anymore. I don't want you to think of it like you used to. This is special. This time I want you to think of it kind of like my blood, and my blood that's going to be poured out for you. My blood that's going to be poured out for all of you. Now the disciples wondered and thought, this seems kind of strange. But Jesus explained to them that he was going to die on the cross, and he was sad, and he was going to miss being with his disciples. And they were going to miss him too. But Jesus gave us a reminder and a way that we can think about how he died on the cross for us too. in a lot of churches, there's things like this. They might call it the Last Supper. They might call it the Lord's Supper. They might call it communion. They might call it a lot of things. But when that happens in a church service, that's what people are remembering. They're remembering Jesus' blood broken. When he died on that cross, his body was dead. And his blood that was poured out when those nails were in his hands and his feet. And so if you see moms or dads or grandmas or grandpas or other friends at church having a little drink and a little piece of bread, that's what they're thinking about. That's what they're remembering. And I want us to remember too. Jesus said, whenever you do this, do it remembering me, remembering him. That's what it's for. It's not because we're hungry and thirsty, but because we want to remember what Jesus did. So if you ever see that, I hope you remember too how much Jesus loves you and died on the cross for you.